Alright, back with another video. So today we will talk about a Poco X5 Pro smartphone, and right now I'm recording with the selfie camera. Now you can record in 1080p with 60 frames per second, what I'm doing right now, but you can also trim that down to about 30. Now today we will talk about all of the cameras, so about the selfie camera and about the back camera. We will talk about some features, the MIUI 14, and I guess let's get started and back to my apartment. Alright, back at home. So now I already told you a few things about a Poco X5 Pro, but let me hit you with some specs and the design right quick before we head over to some more features, me checking out the cameras, battery life, and all of that jazz. Alright, so spec wise, we're talking about a 6.67-inch Full HD Plus Flow AMOLED dot display. Now the screen right here lights up with up to 900 nits and it has 120 Hz refresh rate. Now it comes in a few different colors. Now I took the yellow. Since we're talking about Poco, I took the yellow and black version, but you can also get it in blue or in black. Now, this phone comes in two different variations, 6 gigs of RAM with 128 gigs of internal storage, or 8 and 256 gigs. Now, we're also talking about a Snapdragon 778 G5G processor, and we get a 5000 mAh battery with 67 watts fast charging. So this one charges super fast. Now when it comes to the cameras, we have three different ones. We have a 108 megapixel main camera, we have a macro and a ultra wide angle lens. And if you're taking some videos, you can record in either 4K with 30 frames per second, or you can trim that down to 1080p with 60 or 30 frames. When it comes to the selfie camera, right here, we also have a 60 megapixel front camera, but this one is only capable of doing 1080p with 60 or 30 frames per second. Now, let's get to the MIUI 14. So we get a whole bunch of features packed in this phone. The software that we have is running on a Poco X5 MIUI 14 based on Android 13, which is the newest Android that you can get right now. So by swiping to the left, we get to our newsfeed, and if we swipe up, we get to see all of our apps like on all Android smartphones. As I already mentioned, you can either get a 128 gigs of internal storage or 258 gigs of versions. Now I have the 128 gigs version, but be aware that quite a bit of your internal storage is already occupied by some system relevant stuff. And you cannot upgrade the storage since we get no SD card slot on the Poco X5 Pro. Now swiping down from the top corner, we get to the notification center, and from over here, we can swipe to the side and get to the control center with more options. You get your typical 2-column task switcher, so you can either have a split screen of two different apps at the same time, or you have a floating window. You also get a whole bunch of Xiaomi apps on this phone like Mi Video or Mi Remote, but a cool app that I just have to mention is the security app. With this one, you can optimize the smartphone and give it a deep clean of some garbage that you have on it. Also, while playing games, you have an extra game booster, which we will talk about in a second. And as for last, like all smartphones, you have a fingerprint sensor on the side, which works pretty good in my opinion. So let's give it a try. Right here, and you have a face detection as well, and that works too. Now let's get to the display and audio part. On the bottom you will find a 3.5mm headphone jack and a pair of stereo speakers with Dolby Atmos support. When it comes to the sound quality and also how loud the phone actually gets, it's doing pretty good. And just let me give you an example right quick. Is water resistant up to 1.5 meters for up to 30 minutes, and I really like the Gorilla Glass Victus since it's not only very scratch resistant. So as I already mentioned, we have a 6.67-inch OLED display with 1080p resolution and a 120 Hz refresh rate and Gorilla Glass 5 protection. The part that is new is that you get 10-bit color depth and support for Dolby Vision as well as HDR10+. The colors look crisp with very good contrast. Even if you're out in the sun, you should be able to read everything pretty clear on the screen since it lights up with 900 nits. Just as a little side note, this phone may have a 120 Hz refresh rate, but unlike last year, you can trim that even down to 60 Hz if you want to. Now let's talk about the chipset. It has the Qualcomm Snapdragon 778 G5G, and just a little extra input, this one is one of the best chipsets that you can actually get on a mid-range smartphone right now. Compared to the chipset of last year, which was the Snapdragon 695, this one is a huge upgrade. So like usually I play my car racing games, which might not be the most challenging type of games for a smartphone, but the Poco X5 Pro handles those games with ease. Plus, the phone doesn't have the problem of getting too hot like we have on other mid-range smartphones. The Poco X5 Pro has a 5000 mAh battery and a very solid battery life of up to 15 hours on continuous web browsing, 32 hours of talking, and 19 hours of playing videos on YouTube or Twitch, which is quite a lot. Also in the box you get a 67-watt fast charger that charges the phone in just half an hour from 0 all the way up to 80%, which is lightning fast. Now, let's get to the camera test that I promised.
Posting pictures on the gram so other people know that we're more than friends. Ever since you came around, I've never been sober, always in my head. Met you at a time when I was so low, went from just talking to taking you home. I don't wanna go back to who I used to be, so if you ever leave me, promise you won't let me down.
So that's the Poco X5 Pro. It's a very good mid-range smartphone in my opinion, with very good performance when it comes to gaming thanks to the powerful Snapdragon 778G chipset. The cameras and the video quality is solid. You get a nice contrasty display, a very solid battery life with crazy fast charging, and overall, if you ask me, this phone is worth every penny of its price. Whether you take the more expensive version that costs around 400 euros or the lighter version that still only costs 350 euros over here in Germany. But if this phone isn't good enough for you, then you might want to take a look at the new Samsung Galaxy S23 that I have tested just a few days ago. Just click this video right here to get right to it. And guys, that's all I have to say for today, so I guess I will see you in the next one. Peace.